Thank you, Mr. Chair. Admiral Barata, prior to the invasion of Venezuela, we saw confirmed reports that U.S. military forces carried out strikes on vessels in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific that the Department of Defense said were involved in drug trafficking. Given that maritime drug interdiction and law enforcement are a core mission of the United States Coast Guard, can you explain to this committee how the Coast Guard and the Department of Defense coordinated on these actions, especially in terms of legal authorities and ensuring compliance with international and United States law, or not?
Ranking Member, in regards to the kinetic strikes on the drug smuggling vessels down there, I'd have to refer that to the Department of War. The Coast Guard was not part of those actions at all.
Thank you. Admiral Barata, we have received reports that the Coast Guard has experienced a degradation in information sharing from traditionally reliable international partners. How important are our allies in the success of drug interdiction in the long run?
They are vital to our success. I think many people in the subcommittee, members of the subcommittee, are familiar with JIATF South, the work that's done out of Key West, the Joint Interagency Task Force down there, led by the military and coordinated. 60% of the work that's done in JIATF is assisted by partners, whether that's bilateral agreements, joint boardings, or assisted boardings. You know, for us, the Coast Guard Title 14 is the key for a lot of this drug enforcement that takes place as a potential violation of U.S. law. And so, you know, as Ms. McLeod has highlighted, you know, sometimes we do not have the cutters in place to do that, but we can do some of these boardings with a tactical law enforcement team. And so we get a lot of assistance from our partners in doing this type of work.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to visit the JIATF South and have witnessed firsthand all the work that is being done down there. Ms. McLeod, your statement mentions 20 open recommendations since 2023 pertaining to maritime law enforcement operations. Which recommendations are the most urgent to improving the Coast Guard's ability to interdict drugs, interdict migrants, and thwart illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing?
All of our recommendations are important, and I'll just note that the Coast Guard has agreed with the vast majority of recommendations that we have been making in these areas. I think a couple of areas that it comes down to, and I'll highlight just one, is data and information. So the Coast Guard needs better data to be able to make these decisions about mission trade-offs. And by having such information, it could improve their performance, as you mentioned, where the cutters are, where the people are, doing these workforce analyses to understand the priorities amongst its limited workforce, and could assist in the surge operations when they do come.
Thank you. I know that's like asking a parent, pick your favorite child. Admiral Barata, would vessel safety, economic security, and national security improve if the flags of convenience system were abolished?
Ranking Member, I think it's a difficult question. Like in the cases of the vessels that we're dealing with right now, these dark vessels, there's a difference between, say, an open registry and a false flag. In these cases, what we have found is 4 of the 5 vessels just were under a false flag. They had either were not registered at all, or they had not notified the country that they claimed to be flagged under that they were there. And so when we worked through the Maritime Operational Threat Response process, when we went back to the Department of State, they reached back to that country and just tried to validate the status. The country was completely unaware that they had, or the country had no registry that was open to other vessels. So I think what we're seeing here in this case of these, there's about 300 at least that are mainly tankers that are operating in this dark shadow fleet. I don't think that would get after that problem. I think there are some ways to get after that issue, but if the vessels are not going to be held accountable, then the registry itself won't, because we are upholding you know, for us, for instance, the Coast Guard does a lot of work with, as a port state. We validate these vessels are inspected, that they have their documentation and these things. The vessels that we're going aboard right now have nothing. They have all false documents, sir.
Thank you. I'm out of time, so I'm just going to read my last question to the record, if you could answer it later. Admiral Barata, it's been reported that the Coast Guard is hiring vessel inspectors to assess and repair seized tankers. We know that the service is already short 150 vessel inspectors, which has meant a less than ideal vessel inspection schedule for small passenger vessels. If you could, for the record later, submit an answer to how will the shortage, coupled with the new priority of inspecting seized tankers, affect the frequency of inspections of small passenger vessels? If you could answer that later, that'd be great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
I now recognize the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Mass, for 5 minutes.